My wife lied about her job while I paid for everything, so I sold our house and walked away without looking back. I'm a 32-year-old guy, and I've always taken pride in being the responsible one. From paying bills on time to making sure our home felt comfortable, I carried the weight of adult life without complaint. When my wife and I moved into our new house, I handled everything: mortgage, utilities, groceries, even the little things like cleaning supplies, because I trusted her to pull her weight. She always talked about her high-paying job, the one that supposedly kept her busy during the day, and how together we were building the life we deserved. I nodded along, smiled at her excitement, and even imagined the vacations, the dinners out, the security of knowing our future was covered. But little things started to gnaw at me. She would be on late calls that she refused to let me overhear. Sometimes, she'd claim meetings or deadlines that didn't make sense, and when I casually asked about them, she'd laugh it off or brush me off with vague excuses. There were evenings I'd hear the faint ping of notifications from her phone, only to find nothing when I asked her about it. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she was just stressed, maybe she was embarrassed about something. I told myself I was overthinking, because the last thing I wanted was to be paranoid in my own home. Still, a subtle unease settled in my chest, like a cold shadow I couldn't shake. I felt proud, though, thinking I was the partner keeping everything afloat, making our dream life possible. The house smelled like fresh paint, the blinds let in the perfect morning light, and everything looked perfect to the outside world. Yet, behind that perfect veneer, something whispered that not everything was as it seemed. I didn't know it yet, but those small cracks in her stories were the first hints of a betrayal I could never have imagined. And that night, as I tucked into bed alone while she pretended to be working late, a strange, hollow feeling gnawed at me, an unease that wouldn't leave, like a warning I wasn't ready to hear. I started noticing more inconsistencies, little things that at first seemed meaningless but slowly piled up into a gnawing suspicion. She talked about her job all the time, exciting projects, long hours, big deals, but I never met a single colleague, never saw an email thread, never heard a single phone call that made sense. When I casually asked to see her work schedule or even a Zoom invite, she'd laugh it off. "Oh, it's just boring office stuff, don't worry about it." At first, I shrugged it off, thinking maybe she wanted to keep some privacy. But the seed of doubt had taken root. The nights started feeling heavier. I'd sit in our living room, the hum of the fridge and the soft glow of the lamp highlighting the neatness of the space, while my mind churned. My bank statements were stacked in my head like a list of all the money I'd spent keeping us afloat: groceries, utilities, mortgage, even the occasional fancy dinner to celebrate her hard work. She had her own lavish tastes, always shopping online or treating herself to things I didn't understand. "Are you sure your meeting's that late again?" I asked one night, my voice careful. She smiled, brushing it off. "Yeah, just a long day. You know how it is." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But every vague answer, every late-night call, every mysterious expense was a thread unraveling something I didn't even realize was already torn. The life I thought we were building together began to feel shaky, like I was standing on the edge of a floor that might give way any second. And yet, I held on, convincing myself that trust was stronger than doubt. But deep down, a quiet, nagging voice whispered that maybe, just maybe, I was being played. Something about her stories didn't add up, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I realized the perfect life I thought we had might be nothing but an illusion, and I had no idea how deep the deception ran. It hit me like a punch one quiet evening. I was cleaning up after dinner when I noticed her tablet left unlocked on the counter. I wasn't snooping, at least that's what I told myself, but curiosity got the better of me. A stack of emails caught my eye, all from supposed job recruiters and clients. At first, I thought maybe she was just busy, but the timestamps didn't add up. One email confirmed a meeting she claimed happened last week, only it was clearly a rejection letter, and another was someone she'd never mentioned working with. I felt my stomach drop. My hands went cold, the fork I'd been holding clattering onto the plate. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. All the long hours, all the late nights, all the praise for her successful career had been lies. My heart pounded as I confronted her quietly, trying to sound casual. "Hey, what's this?" I asked, sliding the tablet across the counter. She froze, eyes darting. "Oh, that's nothing. Just old emails." I pressed harder. "Old emails?" These are from last week. And these rejections? You said you closed that deal. She laughed nervously, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I mean, yeah, but, sometimes things don't go exactly as planned. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But instead, I forced myself to breathe, to stay calm. I kept thinking about all the bills I'd paid, the sacrifices I'd made, the life I trusted her to share honestly. It all felt like it had been built on sand. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, the hum of the air conditioner a low, mocking whisper in my ears. Every smile, every "I'm busy at work" excuse, every word of pride she took in her fake successes, it all felt like poison slowly seeping into my life. And I realized this wasn't just a small lie. This was the first real crack in everything I thought I knew. I didn't know it yet, but discovering this was only the beginning, and the real storm was still coming. After that night, everything changed. I started noticing the little things I had ignored before, how she would always leave the room when I checked the bank app, or how she avoided eye contact when I casually mentioned expenses. The house, once a place of comfort, started feeling like a stage where she was performing a life I had helped pay for but never really shared. Every time I brought up money, even gently, she would deflect or snap, claiming I was obsessing over nothing. It hurt more than I expected, because I realized the person I loved wasn't the person I thought I married. I remember sitting on the couch one evening, the golden glow of the lamp casting shadows across the room, and thinking, how did I miss this? How could I be so blind? I could feel the anger building in my chest, like a storm ready to break, but I had to stay composed for now. I overheard her laughing on the phone, talking about plans I wasn't invited to, spending money I had worked so hard to earn. My pride turned into resentment. Why don't you ever talk about your colleagues? I asked one night, trying to sound casual. They're just boring, you wouldn't get it, she said, waving her hand dismissively. I felt a cold pit in my stomach. I've been carrying this life on my own, and she doesn't even see it. Every word she spoke, every excuse, every laugh on a phone call that I wasn't part of, felt like a knife twisting slowly. The realization hit me, this wasn't a simple lie, it was a pattern, a manipulation, and I was trapped in it. That week, the tension became almost unbearable. I could feel the weight of every bill, every sacrifice, pressing down on me, and the more I noticed, the more everything about our life felt like a lie. And yet, I still had no idea how deep it went, or how far I would have to go to uncover the full truth. Something was coming. I just didn't know how explosive it would be. I knew I couldn't keep living in uncertainty, pretending everything was fine while my gut screamed that it wasn't. So, I started gathering evidence. I went through our shared accounts quietly, digging into expenses, receipts, and online orders she'd left unattended. Every item she bought, every late-night charge, every payment she claimed was from her job started painting the same picture. She had never been honest. My hands would shake when I discovered a new discrepancy, and I caught myself whispering, how could she do this? How could I be so blind? I also started documenting conversations, saving emails, and taking mental notes of every story that didn't add up. Even small things, the way she described a meeting that never happened or a client who didn't exist, were building blocks of undeniable proof. I felt a strange mix of anger and relief, anger because she had lied to me for years, relief because finally, I had confirmation. One night, I confronted her indirectly, keeping my voice calm. I found these receipts, can you explain them? I asked, placing a few statements on the table. She froze, blinking rapidly. Oh, that's nothing, really. Just, forget it. I wanted to explode, to yell, to throw everything across the room. But I didn't. I stayed silent, letting the weight of her lies hang in the air. The more I dug, the more I realized just how deep this went. My entire trust, my entire life with her, had been built on a foundation of deceit. I could feel my chest tightening, the hum of the fridge in the kitchen echoing like a countdown in my ears. Every smile she had given me, every "I'm busy at work" excuse, every moment I thought she was pulling her weight, it all crumbled before my eyes. And yet, as much as I felt betrayed, a dark clarity washed over me. I now had the power. The truth was mine to wield, and I realized this was the moment when I could finally start taking control. But I still didn't know the full extent of the deception. What I uncovered next would completely shatter my world. The truth hit me harder than I expected. While going through some old statements, I stumbled across something I hadn't anticipated: a series of loans and credit charges she had hidden from me entirely. My mind froze, the paper trembling in my hands. She hadn't just lied about her job, she had been running a secret financial life parallel to ours. I felt sick, like the floor had dropped out from beneath me. All those nights I stayed late at work, all the bills I covered, all the sacrifices I thought were shared, they weren't. I had been funding her lies, her lifestyle, her secret debts. I confronted her the next evening, trying to stay calm, though my hands shook and my voice was low. "Why didn't you tell me about any of this? The loans, the credit, all of it?" She looked startled, then forced a smile. I didn't want to worry you. I thought I could handle it." Handle it? I wanted to scream. I felt like I was standing in the middle of a house I had built with my own hands, watching it burn slowly while she smiled. How could she manipulate me so completely? My stomach twisted. Every late-night meeting, every fake project, every expense she claimed was work-related. It wasn't just deception. It was calculated, deliberate. The weight of betrayal pressed down on me like a physical force. The house, the life I had been proud of, the shared plans for vacations, the supposed partnership, it all felt hollow, like I'd been living in a beautifully painted lie. I paced the living room, the soft hum of the air conditioning mixing with the quiet ticking of the clock. Anger, disbelief, and a strange sense of clarity warred inside me. For the first time, I saw the situation with brutal honesty. I had been manipulated for years, and now I had proof. And in that moment, a chilling thought hit me: I had the power to turn this around. But I had to be careful. Every step from here on out would determine whether I reclaimed my life or lost it completely. I didn't know it yet, but the next move would push me closer to my rock-bottom moment, and nothing would ever feel the same again. After uncovering the full extent of her lies, I knew I couldn't just react emotionally. I had to plan every move carefully. Selling the house became the first step, not just to reclaim my finances, but to reclaim my life. I started reviewing documents, researching legal options, and quietly organizing everything I discovered into a timeline of deception. Every conversation she had ever lied in, every expense she hid, every fake work emergency became a piece of evidence I could use. I began acting normal around her, masking the storm brewing inside me. I made small, deliberate decisions, paying bills, answering questions with calm politeness, all while mentally mapping my escape. The more I watched her, the more I realized how deeply I'd been manipulated. She didn't suspect a thing. "Are you sure you don't want to help me with this?" I asked one evening, keeping my tone casual. "No, I've got it, don't worry," she said, smiling. But I could see the tiny flinch in her eyes, the only crack in her perfect performance. I started scheduling meetings with financial advisors and lawyers, making discreet phone calls late at night, and photographing documents without her noticing. Each step gave me a strange sense of relief and power. For the first time in years, I felt like I was finally moving toward control, toward justice. And yet, even as I planned methodically, a gnawing doubt lingered: what if she discovered what I was doing? What if she tried to manipulate or sabotage me before I could act? The tension in the house was thick, almost tangible. The faint scent of her perfume mixed with the hum of the refrigerator felt suffocating. I spent nights lying awake, imagining the confrontation, imagining the moment when I would finally expose her lies to the world she thought she controlled. And as I drifted off to sleep one night, a thought nagged at me. The deeper I dug, the more I realized the betrayal might be even bigger than I had uncovered. The storm was coming, and I could feel it gathering momentum. I hit my lowest point one evening without warning. I was in the kitchen, going over the financial statements again, when I overheard her laughing on the phone. She was talking to a friend, bragging about how easy it was to keep me under control, how she could get away with anything because I was too trusting. My hands froze mid-paperwork, and my chest tightened like a vice. The air in the room felt thick, suffocating, and the fluorescent light above me seemed harsher than ever. I felt completely powerless, the weight of betrayal crushing me. I sat on the floor, staring at the cold tiles, and I felt my world collapse. All the sacrifices, all the nights I worked overtime to cover bills, all the trust one had given freely, it had been used against me. My dreams of building a future together, of sharing responsibilities and successes, had been a lie from the start. The house, which once smelled like fresh paint and hope, now reeked of deceit. I felt hollow, like I had been stripped bare of everything I thought mattered. I tried to speak to her, but my voice caught in my throat. How could you do this? I barely whispered. She didn't even flinch. Do what? She said, her tone light, dismissive. It was the final proof. She didn't feel guilt, didn't see the destruction she caused, didn't even understand the pain she had inflicted. I realized I couldn't reason with her, I couldn't plead or beg. I was trapped in a cage built by my own generosity and her manipulation. I felt the walls closing in, every sound of the house, the hum of the fridge, the creak of the floorboards, mocking me. Tears welled in my eyes, but more than sadness, it was rage simmering beneath the surface. And in that moment of despair, a cold, fierce clarity emerged. I wasn't going to stay broken. Something had to change, and it had to happen on my terms. But first, I had to survive this moment, the rock bottom of betrayal. After that night, something inside me shifted. I wasn't drowning in despair anymore, I was simmering with quiet determination. I started moving with precision, plotting each step carefully. I reviewed all the evidence I had gathered, organized it, and considered the consequences of every action. For the first time in years, I felt in control, like the power had returned to me. The house, the bills, the fake smiles, they no longer had dominion over my life. I began taking small, strategic steps. I contacted a lawyer discreetly, inquiring about my options without revealing too much. I checked with financial advisors, making sure she couldn't claim anything unfairly if I acted. Every phone call, every document review, every night spent awake was a calculated step toward freedom. I made sure to maintain a calm exterior around her, smiling, nodding, acting oblivious, while inside, my mind raced with strategy. "Are you okay?" she asked one evening, noticing my quiet composure. "Yeah, just tired," I said lightly, hiding the storm inside. Even my friends noticed the change. I wasn't the anxious, overworked partner anymore. I had become deliberate, calculated, and silent, like a chess player waiting for the right moment to strike. The tension in the house became almost palpable. I could see her subtle glances, the small hesitations in her tone. She had no idea how close I was to taking back control, and that ignorance made the air electric. The calm before the storm was eerie. I felt like a predator circling, poised to act, while she remained blind to the danger she had sown. Every move I made now would count. And deep down, I knew that the next confrontation would not just be about money or lies, it would be about reclaiming everything she had taken from me. The storm was coming, and this time, I wouldn't be the one caught in it. The day finally came when I decided to confront her, but I knew I had to stay calm and controlled. I invited her to sit with me in the living room, everything seemingly normal, the soft hum of the air conditioner filling the space. I had all my evidence laid out: emails, bank statements, receipts, even screenshots of conversations she thought I didn't see. My hands were steady, my voice calm, but inside, my heart was hammering. This wasn't just about anger anymore, it was about reclaiming my life. "I want to go over some things," I began, sliding the first set of documents toward her. She glanced at them, forcing a casual smile. "What is this?" I didn't raise my voice. I just pointed, explaining the inconsistencies, the fake meetings, the hidden debts, everything I had uncovered. "These aren't just mistakes. These are lies. All of them." Her face changed. First shock, then denial, then panic. "No, that's not what it looks like," she stammered, her voice trembling. I kept my tone steady. "It is. And you can't deny it anymore. I have proof of every lie, every manipulation, everything you've hidden from me." The room went silent. Even the clock ticking sounded louder, echoing my heartbeat. My friends and family, some of them I had quietly invited to witness, watched her panic unfold. Every excuse she tried to throw up crumbled under the weight of evidence. For the first time, I saw her truly powerless. The control she had held over me for years had evaporated. The balance had shifted. My anger was precise, deliberate, and controlled. It wasn't reckless yelling, it was the clarity of truth finally breaking through years of deception. As she sank into the couch, wide-eyed and speechless, I realized this was more than confrontation, it was the beginning of reclaiming everything she had stolen. And even as I sat there, calm and composed, I knew the final severance was coming, and with it, the ultimate closure I had been waiting for. After the confrontation, I knew there was no turning back. I started taking the final steps to cut every tie, legally and emotionally. I filed the necessary papers, updated accounts, and blocked every channel she could use to reach me. Each action felt like a reclaiming of myself, a quiet victory after years of manipulation. Her sudden apologies felt hollow, like echoes of words that should have come years ago, not now when it was too late. I'm sorry, she whispered one evening, tears in her eyes. I didn't respond. I had nothing to give her anymore, not forgiveness, not pity, not attention. I walked through the house one last time, the smell of fresh paint still lingering in corners, the soft hum of the fridge in the kitchen, everything I had built now mine alone to decide. The silence that followed her words was almost intoxicating. For the first time in years, the power was completely in my hands. I felt the weight lift off my shoulders as I signed the final documents, closing accounts, and reclaiming ownership. Every bill, every decision, every financial move I had made for her benefit was now mine again. The control she had enjoyed for so long was gone, replaced with my calm, deliberate authority. She tried to speak, tried to explain, tried to charm, but it didn't matter. I had moved beyond needing to justify my actions. Walking away that day, I realized that silence was the strongest statement I could make. No drama, no arguments, no last-minute pleas. Just clean, absolute severance. The life I had poured into someone else's lies was mine again, free from manipulation, free from betrayal. As I stepped outside, the sunlight hit my face, and I felt the kind of clarity I hadn't felt in years. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The past was over, and the future was mine to reclaim. Even as I left, I knew one thing for certain, I had won. And this victory wasn't just about money or lies, it was about reclaiming myself. I'm finally living a life that feels like mine again. The weight of betrayal, manipulation, and lies has lifted, replaced by a clarity I never thought I'd feel. The house is sold, the accounts are mine, and every reminder of her deceit has been erased. For the first time in years, I wake up without a pit in my stomach, without the constant nagging fear that someone I loved could betray me so completely. I spend my mornings drinking coffee in the quiet sun, the hum of the city outside mingling with the smell of fresh air. It's simple, but it feels like freedom. I've rebuilt my life carefully, surrounding myself with people who truly value me, people who don't take my trust for granted. My friends and family have seen the change, they respect my strength and the way I reclaimed control. I no longer chase validation from anyone, no longer fear being alone or misunderstood. The man who once carried the weight of someone else's lies is gone. In his place is someone sharper, calmer, and stronger. Even memories of her betrayal no longer have the power to hurt me. Instead, they remind me of how far I've come and what I refuse to tolerate. I've learned to invest in myself, to focus on my own growth, my own happiness, and my own peace. My strength, once taken for granted, has become my legacy. Sometimes I think about her, the life we shared, and the lies she told, but the thought brings only calm, not anger. I smile quietly to myself, knowing that the manipulation, the deceit, and the pain all belong to the past. I've reclaimed my dignity, my independence, and my power. The betrayal that once defined me now fuels my confidence, my clarity, and my ability to trust myself. I no longer look back, and I don't need to. The future is mine, untangled from lies, free from manipulation, and full of quiet triumph. I am finally at peace.